Well, why don't we move on to, you said there's another, I like the segment we did last time with the retiree, the story with I can't remember who you wanted to highlight this week.
Yeah. Our retiree of the week. This is kind of a neat story. Ed Dwight is the world's oldest astronaut. So kind of an interesting story. So he actually, he was actually America's first black astronaut candidate back in the 1960s. But he had some other things going on, and through whatever reasoning, he ended up not getting into space at that time, but he was technically the first black astronaut. Now, just recently, age 90 years old. This is incredible. Beating out William Shatner, who previously was the oldest person to go to space, the oldest astronaut to go to space. Ed Dwight recently made it to space, and it was on Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, if you're following that at all. So it wasn't the NASA launch or anything like that, but Bezos' Blue Origin company. And he went into space with 5 other passengers, experienced a few minutes of weightlessness. And it was really only, a 10-minute flight? Only 10 minutes. 10 minutes in space, I should say.
Yeah. Did he survive the trip?
He did, as did the other 5.
You never know at that age. I would think the liability coverage on that expedition was quite costly.
Well, the interesting thing about it is that doing anything, at age 90, and last week we had talked about a woman who had done 300 some odd Ironman runs well into her 70s and 80s, right? So I love these stories because even at age 90, his lifelong dream and his lifelong goal of going into space and being an astronaut finally came true at age 90. And I think it's just a wonderful thing as we kind of close today. But looking at his military service and all of his other hobbies that he had and career, et cetera, there's still, he was still able to accomplish his dreams and goals even that late in life.
Yeah. And I really think that this is a critical thing. And I know we talk about finances and we're talking about numbers and ways to save money on taxes and where to draw from first, all the typical conversations that we have regarding investments. But one of the biggest things that I wish I could impart for many of our listeners, especially those that are getting ready to retire, retirement isn't where you stop doing anything and just relax on the beach.
Right.
Just think of it as more of a transition where you're closing one chapter of your life, but potentially broadening your horizons, right? Like some of the people that we've talked about, whether it's Dwight, is that his name? Dwight, the guy?
Ed Dwight.
Ed Dwight, or the lady who did the triathlons and the Ironmans. It's important to have something like that. I'm not saying you have to take it to that extreme, but to have something in retirement that you're looking forward to, whether it's volunteering, whether it's spending more time with your grandchildren, something. Find a new passion, a new hobby, something that keeps life interesting for you. Because the alternative, really, even though it might sound good to be retired, to spend your time sitting on the beach or sleeping in every day, that gets old. That gets old very quickly, and we hear that all the time for people who've retired. And obviously, give yourself a few weeks, enjoy it for a little bit, but then have a plan. Have a plan prior to the time that you put in your notice at your company and you let them know that you're no longer working there. Have a plan in place. And if you need help with the plan, the best person to talk to is Trey. Trey is really excellent in this regard. He has a million different ideas in terms of different charities and different institutions and programs who would happily take some volunteer work from anyone, but also just ideas on how other people have retired successfully and some things that he might recommend that you implement before you pull the plug, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the two halves to planning retirement are, number one, financially, am I sound, right? Do I have the security and do I have the plan so that I can be the best steward for what I've worked for the past 30, 40 plus years so that I can get to this phase? And then the other half of the plan is, what are you going to spend your time doing? And I think that's really well said, Yelisey. I really do.